Okay, hello. It is officially late March, early April here in Denver, Colorado, which means it is time for us to get ready for spring. So we're going to start today's video inside of all places because at this time of year, it's still 4 or 5 weeks before the end of frost. And what's best is to start things indoors. So here we are at our little seed starting station here next to our windows. Let's go through what I've got seeded and what I plan to transplant soon into the garden outside. So starting over here, this is an entire seedling tray of just native strawberry seedlings. I forget the exact name of the species, but these are all native to Denver, Colorado, and the Rocky Mountains in general. I'm going to be putting together a strawberry patch with these. I already have a couple of strawberry plants outside, but this will flesh out our patch so we have a lot more. Over here, nothing has come out yet, but this tray in particular is filled with 3 cells of rosemary, 6 cells of poblano peppers, and 3 cells of winter squash. So there's rosemary here, poblano peppers here, and winter squash seed starting there. So right here, we just have a random pot with a cheap grow light on it. This is just a bunch of lettuce seedlings. I don't particularly love lettuce, but I want to get used to it, so I'm just going to grow a bunch of it and transplant it as I see fit, especially because I'm so good at getting it to germinate in the first place. I don't mind going through some of these seeds and being a bit risky with it. Now, this tray over here, we lost the green container for it, so we're just putting it in a pan for now. This is a funny little combination. We've got 4 cells of watermelon seedlings. I know that's early. We'll see. We've got 4 cells of basil and 4 cells of oregano, so a weird mix of watermelon and herbs. And then, of course, back here, some of you can probably identify these. These are just Roma tomatoes. We're starting them ahead of time. We eat lots of Romas, so we're starting them now. We actually already have some seedlings out in the greenhouse, which is where I will take you next. All right, so here we are now in the main solid greenhouse. It's ironic, we actually have 2 greenhouses. If you've seen a previous video of ours, we put up a tent-style greenhouse just over there. But this is the main greenhouse that holds heat a lot better than the others, so we can plant pretty early in here. And in fact, we planted about 4 or 5 weeks ago now a variety of different things. Over here in this black container, we have some of the cauliflower seedlings that we planted. We have more than enough. And just to the left, you'll see the asparagus plant that decided to join us for this season. It's putting up nice green shoots at this point, which is pretty exciting and interesting to say the least. Over here, we have more cauliflower seedlings. Down there, even more cauliflower seedlings. As you can see, we've put together quite an array of cauliflower this year. Now, in the back here, we have a little bit of greenhouse Inception. I wanted to see what the effect would be of putting a smaller greenhouse and a bigger greenhouse, and it's about a 10-degree rise in temperature. I have not many, but a couple of strawberry seedlings doing well enough for me. I think there's literally 3 here, which, hey, I'll take that, especially because one of them looks pretty healthy, which is nice. And then, wow, who could have guessed it? We have more cauliflower seedlings. It's the time of year where I need cold hardy plants, or I need to put plants either indoors or in layers of insulation to keep them alive. So much of the garden right now looks like brassicas with some random things thrown in. Now, we've had first greenhouse, but what about second greenhouse, you may ask? Well, here we are. Let's take a look at how our tent-style greenhouse is doing as well. And it is safe to say that this tent little greenhouse is doing great. I have counted right now, we have 81 daikon radish seedlings that we planted just a few weeks ago. They've already come up and they're doing really well. They seem to be pretty healthy. Rather randomly as well, in the center of this greenhouse where we tread, we actually planted, I think, 7 or 8 potato plants. We planted them really deep, and we just want to see if they pop up ever. Once they do, we'll start skirting around them, but we thought it would be interesting to make use of this space while we had the time and the space as well. And back here we have our compost solution. It's just a couple of plastic trash cans that we've been throwing compostables into, turning it once a week or so and adding water once a month or something. And it is slowly, in fact, turning into compost and doing pretty good. We were really broke when we got these. We'll probably swap this out for metal. This is actually not a compost bin. We just moved this here because it was already on the property. But these 2 are filled with compost about halfway, densely, finely decomposted compost. Of course, every time we add new stuff to it, it stops being as good looking, but it is doing pretty good right now, and we will use this to amend our soil. This is all compost from food scraps and organic waste that naturally was generated by our household. Now, to one side of our house, we have a long patch of already made garden beds. And in those garden beds, we have put PVC pipes that we essentially use as our method of irrigation. What we're going to have to go ahead and do now is get them reconnected and test them as we get closer to spring and the end of frost. And it looks like our old PVC irrigation system is working and doing great. Now we can finally decide what to plant outside now that it's time. So the plot that we previously used to grow a bunch of potatoes, we're going to go ahead and use that to grow our sugar beets this year. They're relatively cold hardy, and it says online that you can plant them about this early April, late March here in zone 6A. So what we're going to do is till this soil up and then add some compost to it to improve its drainage and just give it some more organic matter to work with. All right, so it looks like we'll be planting pretty densely and then thinning as time goes on. So we'll just be throwing the seeds in about 2 inches apart, and then we'll thin down to about 10 inches spread out once they're mostly mature. All right, and the big surprise is for this year we have a plot at the local community garden. I remember reading online they said it was 12 feet by 10 feet, but I think this is significantly bigger. This is a lot of space. We barely have any idea what we'll do with it exactly, but at least for today we're going to get the mulch removed and then till the soil and then put the mulch back, so that way when the water gets turned on we can bring what we want and get everything planted. We're thinking bigger things like squashes, pumpkins, and watermelons because they take up so much space and they'd work better in a setting like this. So that's the idea. Community gardens are great. Join your local one, see if you have one. The history of this particular community garden is actually epically punk. The old man that started it just found this empty lot and threw some seeds in it. And then every time they tried to shut him down, he just kept planting until he got community support. And then there was a formal organization that could pick up this plot that he had been gardening in with the community for so long. Speaking of how great community gardens are for like your mental health, one of our neighbors came up just to chat. She was also new to this particular community garden. Her plot was over near ours. And we just chatted about this, that, and everything. And it's just so nice to get to know the people around you. And I think that seeing people in the real world and having conversations with them is just so good for people's mental health and worldview, because it reminds you like the people around you are just normal people. They're your neighbors, and most people are completely fine and kind. And I just think that's a wonderful and humbling experience that comes out of doing activism in your community. All right, at this point, we put the hay back over, we're getting things cleaned up, and whether it be at home or at our plot at the urban garden, we're essentially ready for spring. All right, it is nice to do an occasional video that's a little bit more chill and less substantive, so I definitely enjoyed just getting to show what we're doing in terms of gardening right now. If you like this video, be sure to like it. If you aren't subscribed, I'd recommend that you do. I do all kinds of videos about relaxing gardening stuff to more like activism and environmental politics things. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Goodbye.